What if I told you that the single thought holding you back from everything you desire isn't doubt, fear, or lack of action, but the very moment you decide to speak it out loud? Have you ever noticed how a dream feels electric and alive inside your mind, pulsing with possibility until the exact second you share it with someone? And then, almost instantly, something changes. The energy deflates, the certainty wavers. That vision that felt so real just moments ago suddenly seems distant, almost silly. You're not losing your mind. What you're experiencing is one of the most powerful yet overlooked principles of reality creation, a principle that Carl Jung spent decades studying, and one that separates those who effortlessly transform their lives from those who watch their dreams dissolve before their eyes. Here's what most people will never understand about the thoughts you think and the desires you hold. They exist first as pure frequency, as raw, energetic potential floating in the invisible field of your consciousness. But the moment you verbalize them, the moment you expose them to another person's energy field, you're essentially opening a door you cannot close. Has this ever happened to you? You walk into a room radiating confidence, crystal clear about what you want to create, and then someone, maybe a friend, a family member, someone who loves you, asks about your plans. You share, you explain, you paint the picture, and as you're speaking, you feel it. That subtle, draining sensation, that slight shift from certainty to doubt. Nothing dramatic was said, no argument erupted. Yet when you leave that conversation, the fire inside you has dimmed to a flicker. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Jung discovered something that ancient wisdom traditions knew for centuries. We are not separate beings bumping into each other randomly. We are interconnected fields of psychic energy, constantly influencing, affecting, and reshaping one another's inner worlds. Every single person carries a frequency, a vibration that either amplifies or interferes with yours. And when your desire is still in its most vulnerable state, when it exists only as a thought, a feeling, a vision, you're holding inside, it needs protection, it needs silence, because the wrong frequency at the wrong time can contaminate what you're trying to create before it ever has a chance to take root in physical reality. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely change how you approach not just your goals, but the very way you think. This isn't about keeping secrets or being mysterious. This is about understanding the hidden mechanics of how a single thought, held in perfect silence, can bend reality itself. Think about what happens in nature. A seed planted in soil doesn't send out announcements. It doesn't break through the surface on day one, waving at passers-by, declaring its intentions to become a mighty oak. It stays hidden, it stays silent. And in that darkness, in that absolute privacy, something miraculous occurs. Roots spread, foundation builds, strength accumulates. The same principle governs every act of creation in the universe, including the desires forming inside your mind right now. Jung understood this deeply, which is why he emphasized something that sounds almost radical in our current age of constant sharing and validation seeking. Go and tell no man. This isn't about being secretive for drama's sake. This is about recognizing that consciousness creates reality through a specific process, and that process requires protection during its most vulnerable stage. When you conceive a desire, when that thought crystallizes in your awareness with perfect clarity, you're experiencing what Jung called the spark. It's that electric moment when you suddenly know exactly what you want. Maybe it's a complete lifestyle transformation, a shift in your relationships, financial freedom, or a new direction entirely. In that instant, your desire is already real in the invisible realm. It exists as pure potential, as frequency, as possibility waiting to take form. But here's the hidden truth that changes everything about how you approach this journey. That spark needs silence the way a flame needs oxygen. Expose it to the wrong atmosphere too early, and it suffocates before it can grow into the fire that transforms your entire reality. If this resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. This is where we explore the real psychology behind manifestation and consciousness in ways you can actually apply. Most people make their first critical mistake right here. They treat the spark as if it's already ablaze. They announce it, broadcast it, seek approval for it. And what happens? The very act of premature exposure invites interference. Every person you tell becomes a variable you cannot control. Their doubt, their skepticism, their concern, their past failures, their limited perspective, all of it becomes energetic interference, disrupting the frequency you're holding. This is the behind-the-scenes reality of why some people seem to manifest effortlessly while others struggle endlessly despite trying just as hard. The difference isn't in their actions, it's in their understanding of gestation. Your desire, like a pregnancy in its first trimester, needs sacred space to develop before it's strong enough to survive external scrutiny. Nature designed it this way deliberately. The cells are dividing, the foundation is forming, and during this delicate phase, protection isn't optional, it's everything. Now, I want to go even deeper into this because there's something about the actual mechanics of how thought becomes form that most people completely miss. And understanding this one piece might be the breakthrough that finally makes everything else click. Write in the comments, "I protect my vision," if this is starting to make sense to you. The moment after that initial spark, after you've conceived your desire in the invisible realm, you enter what I call the nurturing phase. And this is where the impact of your decisions becomes absolutely critical. Think about a gardener who plants seeds in fertile soil. Does he wake up the next morning, dig them up to inspect the roots, parade them around the neighborhood, showing everyone his progress? Of course not. He understands something fundamental about growth. The seed needs darkness. It needs stillness. It needs time to send roots deep into the earth before anything visible breaks through the surface. Your desires follow this exact blueprint, yet most people violate this natural law constantly without realizing the damage they're causing. What you must do during this phase is water your vision with imagination. You feed it by returning again and again to the feeling of already having it. You close your eyes and live inside that reality so vividly that your body begins to respond as if it's happening right now. Your heart rate changes. Your breathing shifts. Your entire nervous system starts reorganizing itself around this new truth. This is how consciousness shapes reality. But here's where the hidden interference happens. The moment you share your fragile vision with someone whose energetic frequency doesn't match yours, their doubt becomes a weed in your garden. Their skepticism, even if delivered with a smile and good intentions, becomes frost settling on your seedling in the middle of spring. Jung used pregnancy as his most powerful metaphor for this entire process, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. A woman who discovers she's pregnant doesn't immediately broadcast it to the world. Why? Because nature itself designed the first trimester to be private, protected, hidden from external forces. The cells are dividing at an extraordinary rate. The foundation for an entire human being is being laid. And this developing life needs sacred space, needs shelter, needs an environment where it can establish itself before it's strong enough to survive in the harsh external world. Your manifestation works identically. When you imagine yourself already living the life you want with such clarity that it feels more real than your current circumstances, you've conceived something in the unseen realm. That conception is now gestating within your psychic field. And just like a pregnancy, premature exposure carries real risk. Every announcement you make before your desire has rooted deeply in your consciousness invites collective energy that can destabilize the entire process. Their questions, their concerns, their well-meaning advice based on their limitations, not your potential. All of it becomes interference, disrupting the frequency you're holding. The transformation you're building in silence is too precious, too powerful to risk on the opinions of people who aren't walking your journey. But there's something even more profound happening beneath the surface. Something about how reality itself responds when you hold your vision in perfect silence. Drop "I'm watering my vision" in the comments if you're understanding this on a deeper level. There's an ancient concept that exists across nearly every culture throughout history, something people used to call the evil eye. Now, before you dismiss this as superstition, understand that Jung approached it from a purely psychological perspective, and what he discovered was fascinating. This concept points to a very real phenomenon about how consciousness interacts between people. When you share your deepest aspirations with the wrong individuals at the wrong time, their energy field doesn't just passively receive your information and file it away. It actively responds. Their doubt, even if completely unspoken, creates a kind of psychic resistance. Their skepticism, even if they're nodding and smiling while you talk, becomes an interference pattern that disrupts the frequency you're trying to hold steady inside yourself. And here's the revelation that changes everything about how you navigate your relationships during this transformation journey. This interference doesn't have to be malicious, to be destructive. In fact, the most damaging energy often comes from people who genuinely love you. Your mother, who worries about you getting hurt, unconsciously fills your dream with anxiety every time you mention it. Your friend, who considers themselves realistic and practical, injects your vision with limitation because they can't see beyond their own boundaries. Your colleague, who's trying to protect you from disappointment based on their own failures, plants seeds of doubt in your mind that grow faster than the desire itself. None of them mean harm, but impact matters more than intention. We live in a world that has conditioned us to seek validation for absolutely everything. Post your goals online, share your plans publicly, get the likes, collect the comments, measure your worth by the applause. But here's the behind-the-scenes truth about every major transformation that actually succeeds in physical reality. It begins in silence, it develops in privacy, it strengthens in solitude. When you announce your intention prematurely, you're essentially asking permission from people who don't have the vision you have, who aren't operating at the frequency you're trying to embody, who can't see what you see because they're not meant to see it yet. And the moment you resist that temptation to tell everyone, something shifts in your energetic field. Your conviction stops leaking outward, draining itself in search of external reinforcement. Instead, it turns inward. It consolidates. It becomes denser, more concentrated, more magnetically powerful. This internal consolidation of belief is what actually moves the invisible forces that shape your reality. It's what Jung called the secret alchemy of consciousness. When you hold your vision in silence, refusing to dilute it with the opinions and energies of others, you're doing something far more profound than just keeping quiet. You're proving to yourself, to your unconscious mind, to whatever creative intelligence orchestrates the universe, that you don't need anyone else's approval to believe in what you're creating. And that sovereign decision, that choice to stand alone in your knowing without validation, becomes the catalyst that bends reality itself. But there's another layer to this that most people never discover, something about what happens when you finally stop seeking permission and start claiming your vision as already done. Type "I choose silence" if you're feeling the power of this shift. Think about the wisdom that every farmer carries in his bones. When he plants seeds in the earth, he doesn't wake up the next morning in a panic, digging them up to inspect whether roots are forming. He doesn't parade his field around the town, showing everyone the disturbed soil, asking for opinions on whether his crops will grow. He understands something that most people have forgotten in their rush for instant results and immediate validation. The seed needs darkness. It needs silence. It needs undisturbed time to send roots deep into the earth before anything visible breaks through the surface. This isn't mystical thinking. This is natural law. And your dreams, your visions, your desires operate by this exact same principle. The greatest sabotage to any manifestation isn't that you fail to take action or that circumstances work against you. The greatest sabotage is premature exposure. Think about all the dreams you've held that felt so alive inside you until you shared them too soon. Remember that goal that lost its power the moment you announced it and watched someone's face shift with doubt. That wasn't coincidence. That was you pulling your seed out of the soil to show it off before it had developed the root system to survive external scrutiny. The way you guard your vision during this critical period is simple, but requires discipline. You consistently return to the imaginal scene where your desire is already accomplished. You live inside that reality privately, repeatedly, without explaining yourself to anyone. You're not arguing with doubters because you're not engaging with doubt at all. You're not defending your vision because nothing outside your inner certainty matters during this gestation phase. And then something extraordinary happens. There comes a moment in every genuine transformation where all that silence, all that inner work, all that private cultivation suddenly becomes visible in the external world. A tree doesn't stand in the orchard with a megaphone announcing the apples it's growing. It doesn't post updates about its progress. It simply produces fruit, and everyone who walks by can see the evidence hanging from its branches without a single word being spoken. Your life works identically. When the promotion finally lands, when the relationship materializes, when the financial breakthrough arrives, when that thing you've been holding silently in your consciousness suddenly solidifies into your physical reality, the fruit speaks louder than any announcement you could have made along the way. Hit that like button if this changed how you think about your vision. It helps more people discover these ideas, and that really matters. This is the hidden mechanism by which the invisible becomes visible, by which potential becomes actual, by which imagination becomes fact. Keep the seed private, let the fruit be public. When you protect your desire in absolute silence, you're proving something crucial to the creative forces of reality. You're proving you already believe, not that you hope, not that you're trying to believe, but that you actually do believe at a level so deep that external validation is irrelevant. And belief at that level of unshakable certainty becomes a magnetic force that reality itself cannot resist. The outer world has no choice but to align, to match, to reflect what you're holding with such unwavering conviction in your inner world. But understanding this intellectually is only the beginning, because there's a specific practice that turns this knowledge into lived experience. Leave "The fruit is coming" in the comments if this is resonating with how you want to move forward. If you've stayed with me through this entire exploration of how silence transforms consciousness into reality, you're clearly someone who understands that real change doesn't come from surface-level advice. You're looking for the deeper mechanics, the actual principles that create lasting transformation, and that tells me you're exactly the kind of person I create this content for. So if what we covered today shifted something in how you see your own journey, I'd genuinely love for you to subscribe to this channel. This is where we dive into the practical psychology behind manifestation, the hidden truths about consciousness, and the timeless wisdom that actually works when you apply it. Every video here is designed to give you something real, something you can use. immediately in your own life. And honestly, I pour everything I have into making sure each piece of content delivers that kind of value. If you made it all the way to this point, drop a comment saying, "This message was meant for me," so I know you're part of this community. It genuinely helps me understand who's connecting with this material, and I love seeing those comments. They remind me why I do this work. Hit that like button too if this changed something in how you think about protecting your vision. It helps more people discover these ideas, and that matters because this knowledge should reach everyone who's ready for it. Now, there's a video right here that takes what we discussed today even further into the practical application of these principles. It complements everything we just explored, and I think you'll find it incredibly valuable. Click and continue with me over there. Let's keep this journey going.